In a surprising revelation, the FBI uncovered a mysterious secret concealed beneath the lavish estate of film icon Gene Hackman. What was believed to be a standard investigation quickly took a chilling twist when agents stumbled upon a hidden tunnel beneath the property. But what they uncovered inside left them stunned and speechless. Unsettling artifacts, bizarre items, and cryptic messages only deepened the mystery. What could truly be hidden beneath Hackman's mansion? Join us as we unravel this spine-tingling case and the jaw-dropping revelations that could alter everything. Be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for more updates on this mysterious investigation. At 11 a.m., the world was rocked by breaking news regarding the mysterious death of legendary actor Gene Hackman. According to ABC News, authorities have secured a search warrant for his $4 million mansion in New Mexico. What they found inside, however, has sent the case spiraling in a chilling and unexpected direction. When FBI agents entered Gene Hackman's opulent mansion, they immediately sensed something was off. The faint clues scattered throughout the house suggested more than just an accident or natural death. But the true shock came when they uncovered a hidden passage beneath the estate, a tunnel not included in the mansion's blueprints leading to a dark, unexplained chamber. If you find this story intriguing and want to dive deeper into more unsolved mysteries, make sure to hit like and subscribe so you won't miss any updates on this case. Share the video with your friends and family to discuss the chilling discoveries beneath Gene Hackman's mansion. If you have any theories about the hidden secrets surrounding this case, feel free to share your thoughts in the comments below. We'll continue to track the latest developments, bringing you closer to uncovering the truth behind this eerie story. As the agents carefully descended the aging staircase, their flashlight beams illuminated the cold stone walls, revealing a sight that left them in stunned silence. Beneath the opulent mansion of a Hollywood icon, they discovered a hidden storage room, filled with enigmatic items that appeared to have been untouched for years. Stacks of old wooden crates, cloaked in layers of dust, crowded the space, creating an eerie atmosphere straight out of a horror film. Some crates had deteriorated with time, while others remained sealed as though they hadn't been disturbed in decades. When an agent cautiously lifted the lid of one crate, the room fell into an eerie silence. Inside, they uncovered old, yellowed photographs of unfamiliar faces, people from another time, their identities a complete mystery. Some of the images captured secretive gatherings, strange locations, and cryptic interactions. Alongside the photographs lay ancient files bound with leather straps, their pages darkened by age, filled with hurriedly scribbled notes that appeared to document events no one could have ever anticipated. In another crate, the agents uncovered a collection of personal items: an antique pocket watch, delicate jewelry, and a small notebook filled with handwritten notes. The notebook's contents seemed to reveal confessions or memories, hinting at something significant. But that wasn't the end of their discoveries. As the light swept across the dark corner of the tunnel, an old iron door emerged from the shadows. It was devoid of a handle, only a heavy rusted lock clinging to it, worn by years of neglect. What could lie behind this door? Was it connected to the mysterious deaths of Gene Hackman and his wife? Or does it conceal an even darker secret, one that authorities are desperate to keep hidden? The FBI agents have remained tight-lipped about what they truly discovered, but whispers are starting to circulate. Some speculate that the tunnel leads to an undiscovered underground network, while others believe it holds evidence of a conspiracy that has been concealed for decades. Whatever the truth may be, one thing is clear. This investigation is far from over. In an old wooden crate, the agents uncovered a peculiar set of tools. Some appeared to be the work of a skilled craftsman, while others resembled devices used in bizarre experiments. Skeptical glances passed between the agents. What had really transpired in this hidden space? As they pressed on, they uncovered strange markings etched into the walls and mysterious symbols scattered across the floor. The sight raised unsettling questions. Are these simply remnants of Hackman's past, or do they suggest something far darker and more dangerous lurking beneath the surface? Each item uncovered seemed to fuel even wilder theories about what Gene Hackman might have been hiding. The answer could very well lie within the tunnel itself, a mysterious passageway that might hold the key to secrets no one ever expected. As investigators painstakingly piece together the scattered clues, the public eagerly anticipates every new development, hoping that one day they will finally uncover the truth that still lurks in the shadows. Gene Hackman's estate has long been renowned not only for its multi-million-dollar value, but also for its mysterious atmosphere. Nestled in a secluded area, surrounded by towering walls and a massive gate, the mansion stands like an impenetrable fortress where wealth and secrets seem to blend seamlessly. Every aspect of the estate, from the meticulously manicured gardens to the opulent rooms, adds to its grand allure. However, hidden beneath this imposing exterior lies a shocking discovery, a secret tunnel. This concealed passage has ignited a wave of speculation. Was it an escape route built for times of crisis, or perhaps a hidden space designed to conceal highly classified documents and valuable artifacts? The tunnel not only raises questions about the mansion itself, but also about Hackman's enigmatic life. What makes the situation even more troubling is the meticulous attention to detail in the design and security of the estate, as though there was a deliberate effort to hide certain aspects of his existence. With each new discovery, the mansion seems to transform into a labyrinth of secrets, sparking growing public curiosity and leaving everyone on edge. The case took a more unsettling turn when the FBI uncovered the tunnel during their investigation into Hackman's suspicious death. How could such a hidden passage exist for so long without anyone noticing? The mystery only deepens, and now, with every piece of evidence uncovered, the case grows even more complex, leaving the world eagerly awaiting the truth. Early reports indicate that the tunnel might have been constructed decades ago, potentially for a particular reason. Some theories propose that it was a secret passage designed to shield Gene Hackman from prying eyes, allowing him to maintain his privacy. More speculative ideas suggest it could lead to a concealed underground safe room, packed with valuable or sensitive materials. Even more intriguing are the possibilities that the tunnel may connect to adjacent properties, hinting at a secret network of passageways that had been hidden from the public for years. As investigators delved further into the tunnel, they stumbled upon a collection of odd and perplexing items: aged documents, unfamiliar devices, and perhaps most intriguingly, cryptic symbols carved into the stone walls. One agent remarked that the symbols resembled an unsolved code, possibly holding the key to a deeper mystery. This discovery only fueled more unsettling theories. Was Gene Hackman concealing evidence of a secret project, or was he merely fixated on the idea of creating a hidden sanctuary beneath his home? The possibilities seemed endless, and the case grew more mysterious with every step. Investigators are now digging into property records to uncover whether local contractors or previous owners had any knowledge of the tunnel's existence. In interviews with nearby residents, some recall strange tales of workers who mysteriously vanished after working on the mansion, sparking even more intrigue. Others suggest the tunnel could be a relic of an older time, perhaps an escape route designed for safety or secrecy long before Hackman's ownership. With each new lead, the mystery deepens, raising more questions than answers about what truly lies beneath the mansion's grand facade. As public attention grows towards the tunnel, rumors spread at lightning speed. Some believe it's where Hackman hid a secret treasure, while others suspect underground dealings may have taken place. But is this tunnel simply a relic of the past, or could it be the key to a larger mystery? This discovery has sparked an unprecedented scale of investigation. The discovery of the tunnel beneath Gene Hackman's mansion has sent shockwaves through the investigation, particularly when combined with the strange circumstances surrounding the deaths of the actor and his wife, Betsy. As investigators continue to explore the depths of the case, many are beginning to wonder if the tunnel holds critical clues that could reveal the true events leading up to their final days. The mysterious death of Hackman and the strange signs surrounding it have only heightened suspicions about the tunnel's purpose. Some theorize that it may have served as a secret escape route, providing a discreet way to leave or enter the mansion without being noticed. But the bigger question remains: who would have needed such an escape, and for what reason? As investigators continue their work, they're closely examining the odd items found in the tunnel, hoping to uncover clues related to Hackman and Betsy's deaths. The old documents, photographs, and bizarre objects might hold vital information that reveals a hidden side of Hackman's life, one he kept from the public eye. The symbols carved into the walls add to the enigma, suggesting there's an even deeper story at play, perhaps involving secretive dealings or relationships that were kept hidden for years. Neighbors and old friends of Hackman began to share their memories, each one shedding light on new, unsettling details. Some spoke of cryptic conversations Hackman had, where he alluded to problems he never fully confronted, while others recalled unusual visitors arriving late at night, sparking curiosity about what was happening behind the mansion's walls. As the investigation unfolds, the link between the hidden tunnel and the suspicious deaths of Hackman and his wife remains elusive. With each new discovery, investigators either edge closer to uncovering the truth or find themselves pulled deeper into a web of mystery that refuses to unravel. The growing silence from the authorities has only intensified public speculation. The discovery of the hidden tunnels, strange symbols, and perplexing artifacts beneath Gene Hackman's mansion should have provided substantial answers, but officials have remained conspicuously tight-lipped. Each statement issued by the authorities is brief and cryptic, offering little more than fragments of information in a larger, unresolved puzzle. The FBI has thoroughly combed through every inch of the underground tunnel system, and the objects uncovered beneath the mansion appear to tell a hidden story. Yet, as the public eagerly awaits clarity, they are met with nothing but silence. Key questions linger. What was the tunnel's true purpose? Who might have used it? And what is truly being concealed beneath the surface? In a shocking twist, the FBI discovered a secret tunnel beneath Gene Hackman's mansion, and what they found inside left them speechless in amazement. Agents uncovered old, dusty cell phones with cracked screens, filled with unread messages, fragments that could reveal secret conversations, hidden transactions, or unsent warnings. A crumpled calendar, filled with chaotic notes and important dates, appeared to be a timeline of an untold story. Additionally, agents found strange entries detailing encounters with unknown names and locations that didn't appear on any map. They also uncovered mysterious vials, some still sealed and others showing signs of use, raising suspicions about a secret treatment, an experimental drug, or perhaps even a sinister conspiracy. The vials, along with cryptic notes and coded messages, seemed to hint at a larger hidden story, one that someone had gone to great lengths to keep buried. With each new discovery, the agents were left wondering who was involved and what was being concealed beneath the surface of Hackman's seemingly perfect life. Every small clue could be the key to unlocking the truth, and each new discovery inches the investigators closer to unraveling the mystery hidden within Hackman's mansion. With each step, the tension builds, as the public and authorities alike hold their breath, unsure whether a horrifying secret will finally be revealed or if these scattered fragments are just pieces of an unfinished story, forever lost to the shadows. The uncertainty continues to loom over the case, leaving everyone to wonder what truly lies beneath the surface of Hackman's life. As the investigation continues, every new clue only deepens the mysterious veil surrounding Gene Hackman and his mansion. Strange discoveries in the basement, mysterious items, and unexplained signs have left both the public and investigators bewildered. What secrets are being hidden behind those walls? Unanswered questions continue to haunt, and this story is just beginning. Stay tuned for the latest updates, as the truth behind this case could completely change the way we view Gene Hackman and his past. Thank you for following along, and don't forget to leave your thoughts in the comments. When the police and FBI began investigating the mysterious death of legendary actor Gene Hackman and his wife, no one could have imagined that the truth behind it would surpass all expectations. Recently, investigators decided to tear up the old flooring in Hackman's mansion, and what they discovered underneath left the entire team breathless. These clues could change the entire story, and you won't believe what they found. Join us as we uncover the truth in this video. Gene Hackman's house in Santa Fe. Hackman's first encounter with Santa Fe happened during film projects in the area, and it left him with a sense of magic about the place. This fascination led him and his wife, Betsy Arakawa, to seek a permanent home there. They purchased a property that required extensive renovations at the time and collaborated with the local firm Studio Architecture. Hackman transformed the house into a space that reflected his unique vision, blending Southwestern architectural elements with personal touches. His new home sat atop a high hill, spanning 12 acres covered with piñon trees, just a few miles from Santa Fe, offering a breathtaking 360-degree view that extended all the way to the Colorado mountains. He was drawn to Santa Fe after working on several films in the area and felt a certain magic in the place. He said he purchased the property because of its location and later reached out to Santa Fe architects Harry Dapel and Steven Samuelson of Studio Architecture to help him transform the house into the personal space he envisioned. Transforming the house. The house was in terrible shape at the time, Samuelson said. It was a concrete building from the 1950s that had been abandoned and deteriorated, but it was a great location, and the foundation was well placed on the land. Hackman and Betsy Arakawa, who shared the home, didn't want to recreate the traditional Pueblo architecture. Instead, they prioritized spaciousness, natural light, and an open floor plan with French windows, features not easily achieved in traditional Adobe design. As a result, the house became a blend of styles, part Pueblo, part colonial New Mexico, and part Spanish Baroque. The house isn't purely one style at all, Samuelson said. It has a raw quality, almost like a barn converted into a home, both expansive and cozy at the same time. The first step in creating a sense of spaciousness was removing 90% of the roof, allowing the ceilings to be raised up to 20 feet in some areas. The interior spaces were reimagined, and walls were torn down to fulfill Hackman's desire for large, open rooms. 3 small rooms were combined into the heart of the home, a vast living area featuring original tree trunk columns, incredibly comfortable sofas, and a state-of-the-art sound system to fill the space with the music Hackman loved. I wanted a large room with the feel of a great hall, with other rooms opening off of it, without being separated by too many walls, Hackman shared. It's completely different from my other homes. My Montecito house is much more formal. Hackman brought a sense of what he called a cinematic illusion to his living space, describing how the interiors were designed. He wanted the home to have the refinement of a place that had evolved over decades, gradually acquiring layers and character over time. The house is new, but we tried to make it feel like it's been here for 100 years or more, he explained. Plastering is great, but I wanted water stains, as if there had been leaks over the years, he said. I wanted some of the plaster to be darkened, as if it had been stained by smoke. He admitted that he had to do a lot of convincing with the plaster workers because this was exactly what he wanted. But the result was walls that subtly transitioned from one shade to another, creating distinct spaces without disrupting the sense of openness. For example, in the entryway, a rich teal gradually fades into a soft brown, forming a seamless color bridge between the exterior and interior. In that same spirit, the new ceiling beams were repurposed, beaten with chains, and repeatedly painted and stripped to create layers of aged patina. Hackman also wanted stamped tin ceilings in certain rooms of the house. When he couldn't find any available tin patterns that satisfied him, a local craftsman was brought in to create exactly what he envisioned. Hackman was involved in every aspect of the home. He determined the floor plan for the architects, specified every detail in the kitchen, and even took part in the demolition work himself. As a talented painter, he would sometimes mix colors on his palette himself to guide the workers on exactly what he wanted. Although he was on set for most of the construction period, Hackman remained closely involved in every aspect of the project. He was a very engaged client, very artistic and extremely detail-oriented, Samuelson said. We had to call and send sketches constantly, or else a few days later we'd get a call saying, "Hello, this is Gene Hackman. Do you remember me?" In addition, Betsy Arakawa was frequently present at the construction site, consulting with Hackman over the phone and sending pictures of the ongoing work. When it came time to decorate the house, they didn't want to stick to a pure Santa Fe style. Hackman explained, "We bought a few things in Santa Fe, some others came from auctions in New York, an antique store in Germany that Betsy and I found, and from Los Angeles. It's a beautiful combination of soft Southwestern-style pieces and sharp-edged antiques." The newly purchased items, as well as furniture from Hackman's Montecito home, were blended by Santa Fe designers Ken Figueroa and Glenn Gomez, who the couple described as their interior design partners. The softness of the colors and lines of Santa Fe and the traditionalism of European antiques were connected by large, colorful accessories to scale. Just as in their architectural style, there was no effort to turn the house into a museum of New Mexico art and craftsmanship. Some of the most effective pieces came from Morocco, including spice racks painted with intricate designs that resembled mosaic paintings. If you want to know what really happened and uncover the shocking details of this investigation, don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any of our videos. Leave your thoughts in the comments below. What do you think about the FBI's findings? We look forward to hearing from you. The house was designed as a retreat for short periods, possibly 2 months scattered throughout the year when Hackman was not on film sets. During these times, the focus was on comfort and tranquility, free from the interruptions of guests or constant parties. If he felt like painting, Hackman could drive his truck to the mountains, bringing along oil paintings and canvases. Otherwise, he would spend hours reading books and listening to music in the living room, watching the desert change colors and the clouds move across the surrounding mountains of Santa Fe. Hackman embraced a simple and creative lifestyle. After retiring from acting in 2004, he dedicated his time to painting and writing, drawing inspiration from his peaceful surroundings. His daily routine often included morning walks, studio work for his art, and evenings spent with Betsy, enjoying the serene atmosphere in their home. This house served as a sanctuary for Hackman, shielding him from the public eye and allowing him to pursue personal passions without distraction. Despite his reclusive lifestyle, Hackman still maintained connections with the local community. He was occasionally seen at local events and supported regional arts initiatives, reflecting his appreciation for the vibrant culture of Santa Fe. However, he greatly valued his privacy and protected his home as a sacred space, far removed from the noisy world of entertainment. Gene Hackman's married life. Gene Hackman, one of Hollywood's most famous actors, lived a personal life filled with love, challenges, and eventual redemption. He was married twice, first to Faye Maltese and later to Betsy Arakawa. His journey through marriage reflects the sacrifices and challenges that come with a dedication to the acting profession. While his first marriage ended in heartbreak, his second marriage brought him peace and stability. Hackman met Faye Maltese in the early 1950s, when he was still an aspiring actor struggling to make ends meet. At the time, he hadn't yet made a mark in Hollywood and had to take on various odd jobs to survive. Faye, who was a secretary, saw something special in him despite his financial hardships. The couple fell in love, and in 1956, they got married. They built their life from scratch, moving from one small apartment to another as Hackman worked tirelessly to establish himself in the film industry. In the early years of their marriage, money was tight, and Hackman often doubted whether he would ever find success. Faye stood by him, providing emotional and financial support as he attended auditions and took on small roles to make ends meet. Shortly after his divorce, Hackman found new love with Betsy Arakawa, a classical pianist. They met in the early 1980s when she worked at a fitness center in Los Angeles. Hackman, by then in his 50s, was drawn to Betsy's intelligence, kindness, and passion for music. Their relationship developed slowly, and by 1991, they were married. Unlike his first marriage, which had been marked by career struggles and separation, Hackman's second marriage brought him peace and stability. By then, Hackman had achieved great success in Hollywood and no longer needed to prove himself. Together, Gene and Betsy built a peaceful life away from Hollywood, settling in Santa Fe, New Mexico. Unlike his first marriage, where fame created tension, Hackman's second marriage flourished in privacy. The couple stayed together for over 3 decades, with Betsy providing the... By then, Hackman had achieved great success in Hollywood and no longer needed to prove himself. Together, Gene and Betsy built a peaceful life away from Hollywood, settling in Santa Fe, New Mexico. Unlike his first marriage, where fame created tension, Hackman's second marriage flourished in privacy. The couple stayed together for over 3 decades, with Betsy providing the companionship and support that Hackman had lacked during his years as an up-and-coming star. By the 1970s, Gene Hackman had become a Hollywood star, winning an Oscar for his role in The French Connection. However, success came at a cost. Let's take a look at how Hackman relentlessly pursued his career in Hollywood and how it affected his relationship with his children, leading to years of distance and complexity. Hackman's complex relationship with his children over the years. Hackman always kept his personal life, including his children, private in interviews. In 1989, he told film critic John C. Tibbets that the audience was drawn to him because they could relate to him as an ordinary man, explaining, "I like to keep my personal life as normal as possible so that in art, people can let go and reach out." Hackman reflected on his early career days when he appeared on Larry King Live, when the host, Larry King, asked him how he coped with the transition from a lackluster career to one of fame. Hackman replied, "Actually, I didn't cope very well. I took care of my family. My family never lacked for anything, but I was so fascinated by old Hollywood, the mystique of it. Even though I never participated in it, I was really enamored with being a part of it and that I could be anyone and do anything I wanted." Hackman and Maltese welcomed their first child, son Christopher Allen Hackman, in 1960. The 2-time Oscar winner sat down with journalist Lita Powell Drake in February 1984 for an interview about the film Misunderstood. When Drake asked Hackman if there would ever come a day when he stopped hugging his son, who was in his 20s at the time, and instead shook his hand, he responded, "No, we still hug each other to this day, and I thank God for that." He added, "I don't think there will ever be a moment where we have to shake hands. That was really a big challenge for me in the film, and one of the coldest things a person can do is to be unaware and insensitive to the needs of a child who needs to be embraced in their father's arms." Hackman also spoke about fatherhood in an interview in 2011. When asked if he had any advice for his son, Hackman said, "I lost touch with my son about advice when he was young." He continued, It might be because I was away so much, making films at locations when he was at an age where he needed support and guidance. It was really difficult for me to be away for 3 months, then come home and start giving him orders. Reflecting on his journey to becoming a writer, Hackman shared about his son's early career aspirations in an interview with Empire magazine in January 2020. "My son once thought he wanted to be an actor, and while he was in New York, I wrote a few small monologues for him. He said, 'I think that's where I started. I really liked it. Ideas kept popping into my head, and I wrote them down.'" Hackman and Maltese welcomed their second child, daughter Elizabeth Gene Hackman, in August 1962. Not much is known about Elizabeth, as Hackman rarely spoke about his family in interviews. While he didn't specify which of his 2 daughters he was referring to, he did share a heartfelt story about a tough period in his career during the 70s and 80s. "I had to borrow my daughter's car to go to auditions in Hollywood," he told Cigar Aficionado magazine in 2000. "I was barely scraping by, taking almost anything that was offered and trying to make it work." Elizabeth also attended a few events with her father, including the premiere of Superman in December 1978, where he played the villain Lex Luthor at the Kennedy Center in Washington, D.C. As for playing Lex Luthor in Superman, he said, "It was great. I have to say, like a license to steal." Many years later, in October 1996, she was photographed at the premiere of Hackman's film The Chamber in Beverly Hills Khalifa, along with her sister and stepmother Arakawa. Hackman and Maltese welcomed their third child, daughter Leslie Ann Hackman, in October 1966. Like her siblings, there is little information about Hackman's youngest daughter. In 1984, journalist Bobby Wan interviewed Hackman about the film Misunderstood and asked if the film made him feel more emotional as a father or as a son, with a tense relationship with his own father. Hackman replied, "They almost only had me with my children in working on it, in dealing with the misunderstandings between father and child." He talked about his role. "My youngest daughter watched the movie, and she was very moved by it, but I think she was affected because it was a film, not because I was in it. She liked it as a movie and introduced it to her girlfriends. They're going to see the screening next week. She really liked it, and I hope the older kids like it too." Hackman made rare comments about his children in an interview with the Irish Independent in August 2000, noting that they helped him decide to continue acting rather than pursue a career behind the camera. After acquiring the rights to Silence of the Lambs, he initially planned to make his directorial debut, but ultimately turned down the job, a decision he said he had no regrets about. He shared, "I didn't think twice about that decision," and added, "My kids helped me see that it wasn't the best thing for me." He also acknowledged that being the child of a famous person was difficult, adding, "I couldn't always be home with them as they grew up and lived in California. My success always weighed heavily on them." Despite the complex relationship with his father, Hackman's children loved him dearly and were shocked to hear the news of his tragic death. The mysterious death of Gene Hackman. Gene Hackman and his wife Betsy Arakawa were found dead in their home in Santa Fe, New Mexico, on February 26, 2025, shocking the world and leaving everyone searching for answers. 9 days after the Hollywood legend Gene Hackman, his wife Betsy Arakawa, and one of their dogs were discovered dead in their 9,000-square-foot home in Santa Fe. The circumstances surrounding their deaths remain mysterious, with many questions arising about what really happened inside their secluded home. The couple was discovered when a maintenance worker, unable to reach them for several days, decided to check on their well-being. Looking through a window, he saw Gene Hackman lying motionless in the living room and immediately called security, who then contacted emergency services. Upon entering the house, authorities found Hackman and Arakawa deceased, along with one of their 3 dogs. The other 2 dogs were still alive, adding another layer of mystery to the discovery, which left everyone deeply concerned. When officials arrived, the bodies had already begun to decompose, indicating that they had been dead for several days. Investigators estimated that their deaths occurred around February 17, 2025, 9 days before they were found. Initially, authorities searched for signs of unauthorized entry, criminal activity, or external injuries on the bodies, but they found nothing. The house showed no signs of a struggle, and no valuables were missing. One crucial question that puzzled investigators was why neither Hackman nor Arakawa called for emergency help. An autopsy revealed that Hackman's heart had stopped on February 17th, as indicated by data from his pacemaker. However, the cause of Arakawa's death remained unclear, as there were no immediate signs of injury or poisoning. Carbon monoxide poisoning was ruled out after tests came back negative, and there were no gas leaks in the house. As details began to emerge, experts and the public started speculating about what might have happened. One prominent theory is that Hackman, who had a history of heart disease, may have suffered a fatal heart attack and collapsed in the living room. Arakawa, upon discovering him, might have been shocked or experienced extreme stress. Some experts suggest that she could have suffered from broken heart syndrome, Takotsubo cardiomyopathy, a condition triggered by intense grief or trauma, which can cause severe heart irregularities leading to sudden death. If Arakawa found Hackman already deceased, the shock could have caused her to experience acute heart failure, leaving her unable to call for help. Another theory considers the possibility of an underlying medical condition affecting both individuals, although toxicology reports have yet to provide a clear answer. Some speculate whether they may have had an agreement in case of a medical emergency, possibly deciding not to call 911 for personal reasons. The case became even more complicated due to the condition of their bodies. The dry, hot environment in their home led to a natural mummification process, making it difficult for forensic pathologists to determine the exact time and cause of death. The question of the isolation of the house. Additionally, questions have arisen about why their house was so isolated, despite having security and staff, yet no one checked on them sooner, leading to speculation about their increasingly secluded lifestyle in recent years. Hackman had withdrawn from the public eye after retiring from acting in 2004, preferring a quiet life away from Hollywood. The impact of Hackman and Arakawa's death. The sudden and mysterious nature of their deaths has sent shockwaves through the entertainment industry. Gene Hackman is regarded as one of the greatest actors of his time, renowned for his powerful performances in films like Unforgiven and The French Connection. Tributes from colleagues and directors have poured in, with Clint Eastwood calling him a close friend he will deeply miss, and Francis Ford Coppola remembering him as a true legend of cinema. Betsy Arakawa, although not widely known in Hollywood, was deeply respected by those who knew her. She was Hackman's devoted partner for many decades, and their relationship was considered a rare example of lasting love in the entertainment industry. Fans and conspiracy enthusiasts have flooded social media, with some speculating that there may be more to the story than what has been revealed. The lack of timely medical intervention and the unusual circumstances have led to widespread speculation. While officials have confirmed that no foul play is suspected, authorities continue to investigate the case, with toxicology reports and further forensic analysis pending. Unanswered questions. While the most plausible theory points to a tragic chain of natural events, with Hackman dying from heart failure, followed by Arakawa's death potentially due to stress, many questions remain unanswered. Why didn't they call for medical help? Could there have been an undetected environmental factor in the house? Did their deep bond lead to them passing away together, unable to live without each other? The FBI continues to investigate. As the world mourns the loss of a legendary actor and his beloved wife, the mystery surrounding their final days continues. Whether it's a heartbreaking coincidence or something more complex, their story will be remembered as one of the most intriguing and tragic endings in Hollywood. Investigators are still struggling to determine the exact cause of death, but what the FBI has planned will surely surprise you. The FBI is dismantling the old floorboards from Gene Hackman's mansion. At a recent press conference, Santa Fe County Sheriff Daniel Morales addressed concerns surrounding the investigation. "I'm not saying it's unusual, but it's not normal to find two people deceased in a home," he said. Speaking to a crowd of reporters, he acknowledged the unusual circumstances of the case but kept specific findings from the FBI under wraps. "We are working closely with federal agencies to ensure that nothing is overlooked. At this point, I can't comment on specific details, but I can confirm that additional investigative measures are being taken within the premises of the house," Sheriff Morales stated. Expanded investigation. Officials initially focused on the cause of death for Hackman and Arakawa, but the answers remain unclear. However, with no signs of external trauma, no carbon monoxide poisoning, and no evidence of criminal activity, investigators appear to be broadening their search for answers. Now, they believe the house itself may hold hidden secrets. As news of the FBI's actions spreads, speculation has begun to grow. Some theorists suggest that Hackman, known for his reclusive lifestyle in his later years, may have concealed a long-held secret in his home. Could there be a hidden room, a concealed safe, or even long-lost documents buried beneath the floor? Other theories about Hackman's past. Others wonder if this investigation might be connected to something from Hackman's past, considering his illustrious career and relationships in Hollywood. Could there be something deeper behind this story? Some online forums even speculate about the possibility of secret documents, concealed assets, or evidence related to an old crime. Although officials have declined to confirm any specific suspicions, forensic experts believe that the FBI's search methods indicate they are looking for more than just clues related to the deaths of the couple. Unconventional criminal investigation. Tearing up the floorboards is not a standard procedure in most death investigations unless there is reason to believe something important is hidden beneath. Potential possibilities include whether there could be traces of criminal activity that were previously overlooked, or if something had occurred in the house in the past. Could the floorboards hold hidden forensic evidence? Old houses sometimes have secret compartments built into the floors and walls. Could Hackman have hidden Hackman's family, as well as close friends, have remained silent, fueling speculation that something major is about to be revealed. Furthermore, the presence of the FBI instead of just local authorities suggests that federal investigators are particularly interested in this case. This raises questions about what they might suspect. Currently, Hackman's estate remains sealed off as forensic teams continue their search. FBI officials have declined to give a timeline for their investigation, leaving many wondering if there are more shocking discoveries waiting to be uncovered. Could Hackman's home hold a secret that could change the entire course of this case? And more importantly, what will the FBI find beneath the floorboards of his legendary estate? Gene Hackman's health battle. Hackman faced several health issues in his later years. Struggles with heart disease, previous injuries, and the natural effects of aging became significant factors in his life after retiring. One of the most well-documented health battles Hackman faced was with heart disease. In 1990, when he was 60 years old, Hackman suffered a severe heart attack, which forced him to reassess his lifestyle. This was a wake-up call that led him to adopt healthier habits and reduce his workload in Hollywood. In 2004, Hackman made the difficult decision to retire completely from his acting career. Although he never explicitly stated that health issues were the sole reason, it was clear that his body needed rest. By this time, he had undergone various medical treatments, including the implantation of a pacemaker to regulate his heart condition. As Hackman entered his 70s and 80s, he experienced the physical effects of aging. Reports indicated that he struggled with movement, often requiring assistance for daily tasks. While his mind remained sharp, his physical condition prevented him from appearing in public. Fans rarely saw him appear in the media in his later years, as he preferred a quiet, secluded life in Santa Fe, New Mexico. Occasionally, paparazzi managed to capture images of him, showing an older man who had clearly slowed down but still maintained his activities in his own way, such as cycling, gardening, and enjoying time with his wife, Betsy Arakawa. In 2012, Hackman survived a serious bicycle accident in Florida when a truck struck him while he was cycling at the age of 82. Such an accident could have been life-threatening, but Hackman made a miraculous recovery. This event reminded the world of his resilience, though it also raised concerns about his vulnerability. Despite battling many health issues, Hackman lived into his 90s. However, reports indicate that his health had deteriorated in the years leading up to his death in 2025. Close friends stated that he had become weaker, with increasing difficulty moving, although he remained mentally alert. When Hackman and his wife were found dead in their home in February 2025, many speculated whether his cardiovascular condition played a role in his death. Data from his pacemaker confirmed that his heart had stopped on February 17th, but the cause of death remained unclear. Some experts theorize that his wife, in a state of shock after discovering him unresponsive, may have died from heart failure due to the stress. Gene Hackman was a fighter, both on screen and in life. Despite facing numerous health challenges, he lived a long and fulfilling life, choosing to spend his final years in peace, away from Hollywood. His legacy as an actor remains intact, but his resilience in dealing with health challenges is also highly admirable. With the surprising findings in the investigation, we may have only scratched the surface of a larger mystery. Were Hackman and his wife truly victims of an unexpected accident? Or are there strange revelations that the FBI is slowly uncovering? This story is sure to continue making waves in the public for the time to come. Thank you all for watching the video, and don't forget to share your thoughts on what might be hidden under Gene Hackman's floor. Stay tuned with us, and make sure to subscribe so you don't miss any important updates. See you in the next videos. No accident, no break-in, no screams. Only 2 frozen bodies in the house that was once a home. A final call unfinished. Fragmented words haunting the shattered remnants left behind. Who was there? Who heard it? Who was the last to leave Gene Hackman's house? Did someone open the door to let death enter, or was Hackman unknowingly invited in? No weapons, no signs of forced entry, but an invisible hand strangled 2 lives, leaving 6 painful questions stabbing through the nerves of the living. Who took Hackman's life? Why did no one hear a cry for help? What happened? 2 weeks of silence hid what Hackman wanted to say in his final call. Who placed the pills next to Betsy's body? And what was truly waiting for Hackman just before the mudroom door? The place where the legend ends and the haunting begins. If you're curious and want to learn more about Gene Hackman's story, don't forget to like, comment, and share so others can discover it too. Be sure to subscribe to the channel so you won't miss out on other exciting and intriguing stories. Now, let's uncover the things that have yet to be revealed. Chapter 1. The Open Door Enigma. The wind slipped through the slightly open door, carrying the damp, chilly air of the house that had once been the home of Gene Hackman and Betsy Arakawa. As the investigation team stepped inside for the first time, they couldn't have imagined that the ajar door was the first invitation into an endless mystery. An open door is not necessarily unusual in most homes, but for Gene Hackman, a man obsessed with privacy, it was a peculiar sign. He had once hired a locksmith to install an extra layer of double lock protection on the front door. The sight of the slightly ajar door felt like the rhythmic knock of fate. Everyone who had ever visited Gene and Betsy confirmed that the door was always locked, day and night. Hackman, with his almost extreme reclusive nature, had once stated in a 2004 interview, "Privacy is the last luxury I have, and I protect it with my life." No one could understand why, on that fateful morning, the door had been left open. The slightly open door seemed to be waiting for an invisible guest. Or perhaps the one who had opened it had hurriedly left after everything had faded into darkness. There were no signs of forced entry, no broken locks, no traces of a struggle or confrontation. Everything in the house remained in its usual place, except for 2 motionless bodies and a door that swayed gently in the wind. This led the investigation team into a maze of theories where nothing was certain except for the door's unsettling anomaly, like a mocking smile from fate, revealing and then immediately concealing everything that had truly happened within those 4 walls. A theory emerged about the scene. Gene Hackman himself had opened the door. Perhaps in his final moments, as panic rose to his throat, his weakening body staggered toward the door, searching for a sliver of light, a breath of fresh air, or a desperate hope that someone might pass by and save them. The way his body collapsed just before the doorway could serve as a haunting testament to a final, desperate journey. But there was still a darker suspicion. What if Gene Hackman wasn't the one who opened the door? What if someone had silently entered the house, leaving no trace, watching or perhaps even intervening in what had unfolded inside, then just as quietly slipped away, leaving the door ajar as a chilling message for whoever would find them next? A shadow flickering across the security camera lens, an unseen hand reaching into the couple's final moments of terror. The security cameras outside the house, Hackman's so-called infallible third eye, were completely blank during that fateful period. No one was recorded entering or leaving. No face ever appeared on the screen. But sometimes, the silence of the data is the most damning evidence of all. Had someone with enough power erased all traces before the investigation team arrived? The slightly open door wasn't just a minor detail. It was the first knot in the tangled web, a thin veil between the truth and what the public was allowed to see. Rumors swirled about a mysterious call made just before the final moments, from the phone found beside Hackman. But the contents of that call, like the person who stepped through the door, remained a ghost lurking behind the murky veil of silence. And the door remained open, as if it were still waiting for the final answer. From Gene Hackman, from Betsy, or from someone who had never appeared in any investigation report. Chapter 2. The Weeks of Silence. 2 weeks of silence. 2 weeks without a sound, without a call, without a single sign of life. Behind the worn, gray wooden door, in a quiet and secluded neighborhood, where Gene Hackman and Betsy Arakawa had lived in reclusion during their final years, no one noticed that the two souls had silently vanished from the flow of the world. It wasn't until a strange scent slipped through the door's crevice, tapping lightly against the postman's senses, that the secret finally surfaced. But by then, it was already too late. What sent chills through both the police and the public wasn't the fateful moment that left them breathless. It was the absolute silence of those 2 weeks. Gene Hackman, a man who had spent his entire life in front of cameras, capturing vivid frames of existence, ended his final days in complete stillness. No distress signal, no sound to break the deafening quiet. For 14 days, the house had become a silent tomb, where silence suffocated every particle of air. The first question that flashed through the investigators' minds: why was no call made from the phone that always sat beside Hackman? Why was there no cry for help in the night, when both were in a fragile state of health? Why did no family member, no neighbor, notice that the light from the second-floor window, where Betsy always sat reading, had remained dark for 2 whole weeks? Where were Gene Hackman and Betsy during those 2 weeks? Were they really in the same place they were found? Or had someone, or perhaps even they themselves, left the house and returned, closing the fateful door behind them? No one knows. But that absolute silence wasn't just a coincidence. It felt like a setup. An invisible hand had drawn a black curtain enveloping the entire house, isolating the 2 experienced souls from the noisy world outside. Betsy Arakawa, the woman once known as the soft soul beside the tough Gene Hackman, had long been accustomed to chronic back pain. She had texted a close friend a few months earlier, complaining, "There are days when I feel like my body is just waiting to collapse." And Gene Hackman, his heart had been weary ever since he turned 90, yet they still lived. still loved each other in the simple sweetness of a lonely elderly couple. No one expected that they would disappear together in the silence of 14 long days. The investigators found 2 phones, one belonging to Gene, the other to Betsy, neatly placed on the kitchen table next to empty teacups. There were no missed calls, no distress calls. The call and message history had stopped exactly 2 weeks ago, as if time itself had locked in that moment. The simplest explanation is that they were too weak to reach out to the outside world. But the investigators were not so easily convinced by this reason, because before that, Gene would still call the newspaper delivery person weekly to complain when the paper was late. Betsy would still text the gardener to ask about the condition of the plants. Why then did they choose silence during those 2 weeks? Was that silence a choice? Or was it the result of some underlying fear? Was there an invisible threat that forced them to remain silent, to maintain absolute quiet, to protect something or someone? Had an uninvited guest arrived, bringing with them a warning so terrifying that it sealed off every sound within the house? 2 weeks of silence. 2 weeks separated from all connections to the world. That silence was like an invisible shroud, covering 2 people who had spent their lives for art and love. And in that void, no one knows exactly what happened. No one knows what they whispered to each other before everything sank into silence. 2 weeks passed, but the questions about those 2 weeks have never been answered. Chapter 3. The Final Whispers. Gasping breaths, broken whispers, uneven pauses, as if each word, each sound needed to rest in the suffocating chest of Gene Hackman. That's all that was recorded in his final call from his phone. A solitary, mysterious call made just before he collapsed in the mudroom. "It's hard to breathe. Something's wrong with Betsy." That brief statement, just a few words, felt as heavy as a concrete block pressing down on the minds of the investigators who first heard it. The recording of Gene's voice was haunting, fragmented, almost unrecognizable compared to the warm voice that had made him famous on screen. It was no longer the voice of a seasoned actor. No trace of the French Connection or Unforgiven. It was the voice of a man teetering on the fragile boundary between life and eternal silence. What happened just before that moment? Why would a man like Gene Hackman, someone so accustomed to the storm of the media, who had spent decades facing pressure, applause, and the shouts on set, be so panicked? And Betsy, the woman who had always stood behind him, silently supporting him, when Gene said something was wrong with her, where was she? Based on the investigation data, the call lasted less than 18 seconds. Not enough to explain, not enough to ask for help, not enough to clarify who Gene Hackman was calling. The phone didn't store a number, nor did it display the recipient's identity. It was as if Gene Hackman no longer had the clarity to search for a familiar name in his contact list. He simply pressed the call button, like a final survival instinct, when all his senses were in turmoil. The first question that flashed through their minds: why did the call end abruptly? Did Gene collapse midway? Or was there something, or someone, that forced him into silence immediately after his last words? The living room was a mess, but not in the way of a struggle or a fight. Everything seemed like the remnants of an unfinished evening. The teacups still had a bit of warmth. The armchair Betsy often sat in still had the knitted throw draped over it. The book was flipped open on the table, the bookmark resting near the end of a chapter. Everything remained silent, except for the phone left on the floor, its screen flickering in silence with the abrupt end of the call. What had made Gene Hackman mumble in exhaustion? A heart attack? Gas poisoning? Or had an invisible hand intervened in his final moments? The investigators found no signs of forced entry. There were no clear traces of toxic gas in the air. But according to the first responders at the scene, the air in the house was thick, icy, and unusually heavy. It was as if every wall had recorded Gene Hackman's final whispers, as if every brick held a trace of his chaotic, broken breaths. But Gene's words were still incomplete. Something's wrong with Betsy. Where was she when Gene sought his final breath? Did Betsy have enough clarity to recognize it? Or were they both simultaneously victims of something greater than their own fear? No one knows exactly what Gene Hackman saw right before he collapsed. But the investigators found faint fingerprints on the doorframe. It was as if Gene's hand had groped in a desperate attempt to seize life, when his legs could no longer hold him up. And the final call, just 18 seconds, became the last testament of a man once celebrated by Hollywood. A short recording, but enough to haunt the steps of anyone who came into contact with it. It's hard to breathe. Gene Hackman's last breath did not ring out like a will. It was more like a curse, lingering in the air. Chapter 4. The Prescription Puzzle That Never Closes. Betsy's cold hand hung limply by the edge of the tea table. Her fingertips still gently brushed against a pill that had not yet been taken. Right next to it, a prescription bottle stood open. The white, cloudy pills were scattered across the oak table. No messages, no notes, just the silent pills, lying scattered like invisible pieces of a deadly game. The police called it a crucial piece of evidence, but no one, even the senior investigators, dared to say for certain what those pills were, who they were prescribed to, and who had actually taken them. Were they heart medication for Gene Hackman? Antidepressants for Betsy Arakawa, or something else? A chemical trap set, waiting for the moment both would fall into it? Gene Hackman, the man who survived countless battles on screen, carried within him an imperfect heart. His history of heart problems was nothing new. After years of enduring the pressures of the spotlight, a slow heartbeat was no longer a surprise. Betsy, the quiet rose beside him, harbored another secret. Behind closed doors, it was rumored that she had battled depression for many years, especially since Gene Hackman officially retired, retreating into his later years in quiet solitude. The silence seemed peaceful, yet it turned out to be the perfect environment for hidden, simmering underground currents. Sleeping pills, secretly added. Too many prescriptions, quietly mixed together. Doses, never truly taken on time. Was Betsy treating her depression? Yes, but was she truly in control of herself? No one is sure. The bottle of pills on the table had fingerprints from both Gene and Betsy. What did that mean? Did they both take the same medication? The same prescription? Or had someone approached them, arranging everything to create the perfect scenario of what seemed like an accidental event? The pills scattered. Was it the scene of a panic? Or the trace of another hand that picked up each pill, setting everything up to trigger a chain reaction? Just one dose too large. For Gene, a heart that had grown weary, just one strong pill could have dragged him into the abyss, even if he didn't realize it. But what about Betsy? Were those pills her salvation, or were they a burden she struggled to swallow each day, like swallowing the darkness that enveloped the quiet house? One investigator once asked a chilling question. Could it be that Gene Hackman poured the pills for his wife, and then accidentally took them himself? That question has never had an official answer. The pills looked so familiar that Gene may not have bothered to look closely when he picked them up and swallowed them out of habit. But were they still his pills? Who had swapped them? Who had placed them there, right within reach of both? Who had turned the Hackman kitchen into a deadly laboratory where each pill became a cut in the thread of life? Was it Betsy, caught in a hazy moment between clarity and despair, who had unknowingly done something she didn't even understand? Or was there another invisible hand that had planned everything, gently disrupting their reality, turning the pills meant to save lives into a slow, silent weapon, leaving no trace? The moment Gene Hackman collapsed in his final breath, he mentioned Betsy. Perhaps that was when he realized, too late, that everything he trusted had betrayed him. The pristine white pills, perfect cover for the quietest assassin, silence. But sharper than any knife, they were the thing or someone that opened the door, leading Gene Hackman and Betsy Arakawa into a state of unconsciousness from which they would never wake. If you find Gene Hackman's story fascinating and full of mystery, leave a comment with the number 1. If not, leave a comment with the number 0. Next, we'll dive into more mysterious stories. Chapter 5. Carbon monoxide or cover-up. All the doors were closed. The windows were covered with curtains. Light barely filtered in, faint rays casting down onto the cold wooden floor. In that quiet space, Gene Hackman and Betsy Arakawa lay motionless beside each other, as if they had slept for a very long time, so long that time had forgotten them. The first theory emerged as soon as the bodies of the couple were found. Elizabeth, Gene's eldest daughter, spoke to the police with a choked voice. "My parents never leave the door open. There's something wrong with this house." Elizabeth implied that the Hackman family had long been haunted by the fear of carbon monoxide, CO, poisoning. Gene Hackman was particularly wary of the old heating system in the house, where he and Betsy had lived for nearly 2 decades. He had hired plumbers 3 times in the past year to inspect the pipes, fearing that toxic gas might be leaking from the underground pipes beneath the floor. An invisible killer, odorless, colorless, leaving no trace. However, when the fire department and police arrived at the scene, they bluntly stated, "There are no signs of gas or toxic gas leaks." The house had been scanned with specialized equipment. All the pipes had been pressure tested. Everything seemed normal. No CO in the air. So why did Elizabeth still believe that her parents' deaths were not an accident? The answer may lie in the time when no one saw them. The gap between the last time a neighbor heard Gene Hackman say good morning and the day they found him and Betsy motionless. 2 empty weeks. What happened during that time? Could CO have escaped and completely dissipated before the investigators arrived? Toxic gas experts, when asked, confirmed, CO is very difficult to remain in a well-ventilated environment. If the door is open, if people are coming and going, if the fan is running, CO would be almost non-existent. This raises a chilling question. Could the slightly open door be the only evidence that someone had entered? Did someone intentionally open the door, allowing the stifling air inside to be released, letting the CO dissipate completely before the police arrived? If so, who did it? A familiar face? Someone trying to erase the evidence? Or was it Gene Hackman, in his final moments, still with some clarity, attempting to open the door for fresh air before his knees gave way from the labored breaths? Betsy Arakawa often burned scented candles and kept the heater on all day, especially during the late months of the year. Just one small mistake, a slightly clogged chimney, a misaligned vent, CO could have begun to accumulate. Slowly, it settled on the floor. It snuck into every breath, unnoticed. Death came quietly, painlessly, without warning, yet it took away all survival instincts. Gene and Betsy may have been too weak to realize that every breath they took only brought them closer to the brink of life. However, some seasoned investigators raised a more suspicious theory. Was this really an accident? What if someone intentionally used CO as an invisible weapon? A small dose, introduced into the house through a pipe or vent. Just enough to make Gene Hackman weary and disoriented, but not enough to kill him immediately. This is called slow poisoning, a method that gradually robs the victim of their senses, making them easy to control, like a puppet in someone else's hands. The slightly open door, a sign that an unseen hand had manipulated the entire scene. CO might just be a fog, a veil hiding the truth. Accident or cover-up? The answer still lies somewhere, among the invisible currents of air that have swept away all the final words. Chapter 6. The Mystery of the Mudroom. Gene Hackman's house wasn't large, just a cozy, peaceful home, much like the final years he had always hoped for. But that piece of serenity shattered when the forensic team stepped through the side door leading to the backyard, where they found Gene Hackman's lifeless body lying in the mudroom, a small room connecting the inside to the outside, where he would often wipe his feet after walking around the garden. He wasn't lying flat, like in typical cases of stroke or exhaustion. Gene's posture was particularly strange. One arm stretched toward the door, his head slightly tilted upward, as if he had tried to pull himself toward freedom, toward the air beyond the suffocating wall behind him. His legs were twisted as though someone had tried to walk, but a dizzy spell had distorted every reflex, leaving his final steps as mere indistinct, invisible marks on the wooden floor. What happened in those final moments? No one knows, but there was one thing that remained: the phone in Gene Hackman's hand. The screen was off, but in the memory, there was still a short audio file, less than 30 seconds long. The police did not release the contents. This only fueled a series of speculations. Some say that in the recording, there was the sound of Gene's labored breathing, mixed with a few fragmented words, though it was unclear who he was speaking to. Some whispered that he called out Betsy's name. Others insisted there was another sound, neither Gene's nor Betsy's, echoing through the vague rustling of footsteps. A door opening, or just the echo of invisible fear? Why was Gene Hackman in the mudroom, not the bedroom, not the living room? For a 94-year-old man with a serious illness, moving toward the side door as his health weakened wasn't an easy choice, unless he was forced to do so. Was there someone or something inside the house that forced Gene to leave the safest place? The familiar bedroom where he and Betsy often read together every night? A theory of a mysterious break-in had been raised, but quickly dismissed due to the lack of signs of forced entry or struggle. But what about signs of fear? Things that leave no trace. What if Gene Hackman discovered someone in the house? What if, instead of shouting or calling the police immediately, he chose to remain silent, quietly moving toward the back door? What if it was a familiar face? Betsy Arakawa was found in the bedroom, not far from an open bottle of pills. But why wasn't Gene by her side? What had compelled him to go to the mudroom, a place he had never spent a night in? There are simpler theories as well. Perhaps, when feeling short of breath, Gene tried to open the side door to get some fresh air. But if that was the case, why didn't he call emergency services from the living room? Why did he hold on to the phone? Yet there was no call made except for that short recording. Or perhaps he made a mistake. The open door. He thought it was his only chance to survive, only to realize that on the other side, no one was waiting. No one was there to pull him from the darkness. In mysterious cases, the mudroom, a small room meant only for muddy shoes, became the keeper of the greatest secret. Gene Hackman's final steps didn't lead him to the light, but stopped just before the threshold, where life hung as fragile as a curtain blown by the wind. Was he running away or chasing the one who stole his final moments with his beloved wife? No one knows. Only the brief recording and the door left ajar, forever. Six questions. 6 knives stabbing into the truth, buried beneath the perfect facade of a peaceful departure. But no departure is peaceful when the hand of the unseen still lurks somewhere, amid the pieces that never quite fit together. Amid the final breaths that no one has fully heard, Gene Hackman is gone. But these 6 questions remain, waiting to be answered. If you find the story of Gene Hackman intriguing and full of mystery, don't forget to hit the like button, leave a comment, and share this video so others can discover it too. Be sure to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the latest discoveries about this mysterious case and other captivating stories. Thank you for watching. See you in the next video. In his final years, Hollywood legend Gene Hackman left behind a shocking and emotional legacy, causing his family and the world to question everything they once knew about him. At the age of 95, Hackman's final message, revealed only after his passing, contains chilling truths and secrets that will send a shiver down your spine. From secret financial dealings to haunting letters he never sent, his last will paints a picture of a man struggling with fame, a turbulent past, and the broken relationships he left behind. What did he hide? And why did he choose to reveal everything only in his final moments? Stay tuned as we uncover the untold story of Gene Hackman's last message and the shocking revelations that will haunt you. Santa Fe, New Mexico, a land bathed in sunlight with arid hills and a vast sky, where the sunset paints the red rocks in shades of gold. In this seemingly peaceful place, a name had withdrawn from the bright lights of Hollywood. Gene Hackman, known to audiences for his cold, sharp, and weighty performances in films like The French Connection, Unforgiven, and The Conversation. Gene Hackman was not just an actor. He was a living symbol of an unforgiving era in cinema, where talent had to shout to secure a place under the spotlight. However, while most of his colleagues clung to the spotlight with final roles or surprise comebacks, Gene Hackman chose the opposite path. He disappeared in 2004 after announcing his retirement from the film industry. Hackman rarely made public appearances, did not participate in interviews, attended no events, and there was no career retrospective. All that people knew was that he and his second wife, Betsy Arakawa, had retreated to a villa deep in the outskirts of Santa Fe, where he referred to it as the land of wind and silence. The villa quickly earned a haunting nickname from the locals, the Silent Villa, not only because of its strange isolation, but also due to the dense atmosphere surrounding it. Delivery workers rarely saw the owner, occasionally receiving short messages asking them to leave packages at the gate. Even neighbors just a few hundred meters away seldom saw Gene Hackman step outside. He had once been the face of American cinema, but now he was just a ghost behind those walls. A local resident once said, "The rumors started from that silence." Some people speculated that Gene Hackman was writing an unpublished memoir, while others believed he was recording his thoughts, his final messages, as a way to communicate with future generations. And some believed that it was Betsy Arakawa, the woman who had stood by Hackman through many storms, who asked him to sever all ties with Hollywood as an unspoken agreement between them. The truth remains unknown, as the silent mansion never opened its doors to the curious. The only information to leak out was a small detail from a plumber hired in 2023. He claimed to have seen an old tape recorder on Gene Hackman's desk with a handwritten note that read, "The final words, private." No one knows what the recording contains, or whether it truly exists, or is just an exaggerated imagination. But what happened next only deepened the eerie mystery surrounding Gene Hackman. He canceled all routine health checkups, refused to respond to messages from old colleagues. A journalist who sent a letter inquiring about his well-being received only a blank sheet of paper with 3 words: "Leave me alone." If you found the story of Gene Hackman surprising and emotional, don't forget to like and share this video with your loved ones. To not miss out on more captivating stories and shocking revelations in the future, be sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell now. Leave your thoughts in the comments below, share your reflections on the legacy Gene Hackman left behind and the untold secrets. Gene Hackman once said in his final interview in 2004, "I've played enough roles of regretful men. I don't want to become one of them." But now, in the sunlit villa of Santa Fe, he has become the shadow of the characters he once portrayed. Lonely, introspective, and carrying a secret that no one is allowed to touch. Betsy Arakawa, who had been by Gene's side for over 30 years, also maintained absolute silence. She declined all interview requests and never appeared with her husband during the rare times he ventured outside. It is said that Betsy was the only one who knew about the final message, the recording that is believed to be Gene Hackman's last will, where he revealed his thoughts on his career, love, and the hidden shadows within. At the age of 90, Hackman no longer cared about fame or wealth. The only thing he sought was peace, a luxury he had never experienced throughout his life on the movie sets. However, that silence was not entirely by choice. Rumors began to spread, and hidden aspects of Hackman's life slowly emerged through whispered conversations from those closest to him. It was rumored that his health had rapidly deteriorated, more quickly than anyone had imagined. Sudden heart attacks, falls that no one witnessed while he was riding his bike down the street. Gene Hackman in his final years had become a shadow of the man he once was. According to sources that have not been made public, Hackman's family was not as perfect as many might have imagined. Hackman had 3 children from his first marriage to Faye Maltese, a marriage that lasted 30 years before ending in a bitter divorce. His daughter, Elizabeth Hackman, publicly criticized her father's emotional neglect. Fame took away all the time he should have spent with the family. He was always working, always somewhere else. While Hackman financially supported his children, the relationship between him and them was never truly nurturing. Moments like family dinners, teaching them to ride bikes, or reading bedtime stories only existed in his children's imagination. This lack of attention built up over time, creating a gap that could never be healed. Even when Gene Hackman remarried Betsy Arakawa, a pianist 30 years younger than him, the tension between him and his children remained unchanged. Many sources close to the family revealed that Hackman's decision to retreat into solitude was not simply for rest, but also a way to avoid the growing conflicts within his own family. Family gatherings became less frequent, phone calls grew shorter, and even holidays like Christmas no longer brought the sense of togetherness they once had. Hackman never openly admitted this, but those close to him sensed that he was haunted by the fear of seeing disappointment in his children's eyes. In an attempt to bridge the emotional gap, he sent money, property, and luxurious gifts from the West Coast to the cities where his children lived. However, like many of the roles he played, money couldn't buy what mattered most: genuine connection and forgiveness. The distance between them became unbridgeable when Hackman completely stepped away from Hollywood in 2004 after his final role in Welcome to Mooseport. There were no emotional farewells with colleagues, no farewell parties from the studios that once regarded him as their golden goose. Hackman quietly vanished, like a fleeting breeze, leaving only rumors of a lonely, reclusive life. Hackman's final years in Santa Fe seemed like a retreat from the world, a quiet space where he lived in isolation. He spent most of his time in his modest wooden house, immersed in books, writing, and sketching the landscapes around him. Those lucky enough to encounter him at the local grocery store or gas station described him as a thin figure with sharp eyes and a strong gaze, unmistakable. Hackman was often seen sitting alone on his porch, watching the sunset and drawing the distant mountains. These rare moments, far from the spotlight, were perhaps the only times he truly felt free. No cameras, no empty praise, no complicated family relationships, just him, the wind, and the quiet thoughts he kept to himself. Even more chilling are the whispers surrounding a mysterious personal fund that Hackman established in the mid-90s. Details about the fund are shrouded in secrecy. No one knows exactly how it operates, where the money came from, or its true purpose. Among the documents discovered, there was a handwritten letter from Hackman to himself, resembling a personal financial diary. In it, he wrote, "I built this, not to leave an inheritance, but to leave control." This cold statement stunned his children, as it confirmed a harsh truth. Gene Hackman never intended for his assets to fall into anyone else's hands, not even his own family. As rumors about Hackman's declining health spread, Hollywood media began searching for the final clues about his life and legacy. Some believe that Hackman quietly wrote a will years ago, dividing his assets into different accounts to prevent any disputes. Others speculate that he set up an anonymous charitable fund, funneling a large portion of his wealth into it as a silent act of atonement for the family he had distanced himself from. The more he withdrew from the spotlight, the more Hackman became the subject of wild conspiracy theories and fabricated stories. However, in his humble home in Santa Fe, he spent his final days in peace, leaving behind not only an outstanding career but also unresolved mysteries that would linger long after his death. Gene Hackman wrote his own ending, leaving the world in a way no one expected. The news of his passing was announced on a cold, overcast morning, before the sun had risen over the red peaks of New Mexico. The announcement was simple, without the fanfare one might expect, much like the reclusive life he had lived for the past 2 decades. However, when that brief notice appeared in a local newspaper, it shook not only Hollywood media, but also Hackman's own family, as long-hidden secrets and locked doors that had remained shut for years suddenly swung open after a long silence. Initially, Hackman's family thought everything would be straightforward. They found a handwritten will, notarized in 2001, listing a few clear assets: the house in Santa Fe, a bank account in California, and a classic Hudson Hornet that Hackman had kept since his youth. The total value was estimated to be under $5 million, a modest sum compared to his legendary career and public image. But as they continued searching through old documents and began uncovering seemingly anonymous bank accounts, a completely different and unexpected picture started to emerge. It turns out, Gene Hackman's influence wasn't limited to the world of Hollywood. In the 1990s, when his career was at its peak, Hackman quietly built a complex financial empire, including real estate holdings, stocks, anonymous investment funds, and overseas transfers. Hackman wasn't just a famous actor. He was also a sharp financial strategist, skillfully hiding his wealth within a complex financial network. Hackman's total net worth, when all the clues were put together, was estimated to exceed $80 million, a figure that left even his closest friends stunned. But what truly shocked his family wasn't the scale of his fortune, but the way Hackman had meticulously hidden everything over the years in such a complex and elusive manner. No one knew exactly how, with whom, or why he chose to maintain such secrecy. In some secretive transactions, Hackman even used aliases through trust accounts set up in places like Switzerland, the Cayman Islands, and Singapore. The discovery of this secret fund immediately led to a series of covert investigations. Lawyers, financial experts, and even private detectives were hired to trace the fund, but all hit dead ends. Gene Hackman had been preparing for this day for a long time. Ghost accounts, a maze of shell companies, untraceable money transactions. Every time the family seemed to get close to a clue, Hackman appeared to be several steps ahead. When the family's lawyer officially disclosed Hackman's assets, the listed properties were just the surface: the house in Santa Fe, the vintage car, and a few bank accounts. The rest, the real assets, remained hidden in the shadows of financial secrecy, known only to Hackman. And now, with his passing, that secret has become an unsolvable puzzle for those closest to him. Gene Hackman was not only a famous actor or a Hollywood legend. He was also a man living in deep solitude, torn between the desire to protect his family from the chaos of fame and the fear of losing himself in the role of a father. But it wasn't just the letters that sparked suspicion. The deeper the Hackman family dug into old files and forgotten drawers, the more disturbing pieces they uncovered. Mysterious financial agreements, untraceable money transfers, and perhaps most concerning of all, a list of beneficiaries that did not include any of his family members. It seemed that Hackman had created an entirely separate will, a plan that did not involve any of his children. Ironically, throughout their years together, Hackman and Betsy Arakawa were the epitome of a peaceful marriage. The couple lived in a handcrafted wooden house on a 12-acre plot in the Santa Fe mountains, far removed from the turmoil and scandals of Hollywood. Their longtime friends, Daniel and Barbara Lenahan, fondly recall the quiet afternoons when Hackman painted. Betsy silently brewed tea, and the two shared content smiles amidst nature, believing they had achieved their ideal life. However, beneath that tranquil exterior, Hackman's need for control never wavered. Betsy once confided to a close friend, "Gene is the perfect husband, as long as I don't touch what he calls his personal legacy." And that legacy was not just his film career, it was also his absolute control over his own story. No one, not even Betsy or their children, was allowed to rewrite the history of Gene Hackman. To the world, Gene Hackman was a film legend, but to his children, he was like a closed door, a father defined only by his work schedule and movie contracts. They don't remember him from fishing trips or cozy family dinners. Instead, they remember him through magazine interviews and the rare moments they saw him on the red carpet, close in proximity but emotionally distant. There were nights when his eldest son, Christopher Hackman, stayed up late, watching and rewatching his father's films, trying to find a real connection behind the characters. But the screen only reflected what Gene Hackman wanted the world to see, not the emotions hidden deep within. In 2017, when Gene's health began to decline, Leslie noticed a noticeable shift in the balance of power. Betsy had become the only one speaking for Gene, making decisions on his behalf, even refusing interviews or acting opportunities without consulting him first. Leslie recalled one summer evening in 2019 when she visited unannounced. Betsy took quite a while to open the door, and her hesitation made Leslie feel uneasy. When Leslie insisted, Betsy reluctantly let her in. Gene was sitting in the living room, but his eyes were cloudy and distant, his smile strained, and every sentence he spoke began with an invisible subservience. "Betsy thinks that... Betsy told me. Betsy said I should do this." The man who was once as strong as Gene Hackman was now just a shadow of himself. Betsy insisted that every decision about his health, even the way he passed, was entirely Gene's choice. But Leslie couldn't accept that. She had seen the prescriptions that Betsy had arranged for her father. The handwritten notes in the bedroom where she had carefully outlined steps to help Gene pass peacefully. That realization sent a chill down Leslie's spine. She couldn't shake the haunting question. Did Gene Hackman truly want to die, or were all those decisions made by Betsy on his behalf? After listening to the highly confidential recording, Leslie was shaken, not because of the loss, but because of the fear that the voice she heard wasn't Gene's, but a distorted reflection of Betsy's influence, a confession that had been coerced. Leslie didn't hate Betsy. She couldn't hate the woman who had stood by her father for 30 years. But no amount of gratitude could dispel the growing suspicion that Gene Hackman, once a symbol of strength, might have lived his final years as a pawn, pulled by the strings of a love that had controlled him. And when the door to the Santa Fe mansion closed for the last time, Leslie understood the truth. The one who held the key had been trapped in that house, along with secrets that would never be revealed. Some houses never deteriorate, even after the people who once lived in them are gone. The Santa Fe mansion is one of those places. It wasn't just Gene Hackman's final home. It became something more. A living, breathing entity in the wind that blows through windows, never fully closed. The people of Santa Fe call it the Whispering House. Stories circulate among the neighbors, the old maintenance workers, and those who have seen Gene Hackman standing by the window, silently gazing out at the Sangre de Cristo Mountains. The whispers never cease. It is believed that the presence of Gene and Betsy still haunts the place, not in the form of a visible ghost, but as a trapped memory, endlessly repeating like an old film. Footsteps echo at midnight on the wooden floors, doors gently open and close, even though the mansion has been locked tight for years. And when the doors of the Santa Fe mansion closed for the final time, Leslie knew the answer to Gene Hackman's fate. Whoever truly held the key would forever be locked in that house, along with the buried secrets. Some houses never truly fall into ruin, even when their inhabitants have long since gone. The Santa Fe mansion is one such house. It was not just Gene Hackman's final retirement home. It became a living entity, breathing with each step, silent with every breeze that passed through windows that were never completely closed. The people of Santa Fe call it the Whispering House. Stories circulate among neighbors, former maintenance staff, and even those who briefly spotted Gene Hackman standing by the window, gazing into the distance at the Chisto Mountains. The whispers never stop. People believe the essence of Gene and Betsy never truly left the house, not as physical ghosts, but as a stream of memories eternally trapped, replaying like a faded, worn-out film. Fragments of conversations, footsteps echoing at midnight on the wooden floor, the sound of doors softly opening and closing, even though the mansion had been locked tight. They loved each other, a love so strong it could burn both souls. But they also feared each other, feared losing each other, feared a day when there would be no one left to hold on to in the darkness of old age. That fear turned the house into a living tomb, burying every smile, every unfinished dream. Leslie Hackman, the sole heir of Gene, neither sold the house nor moved in, but she returned once every year on the anniversary of her father's death, standing before the heavy wooden door, her hand trembling on the doorknob but too afraid to turn it. "I hear him," Leslie once said in a rare interview. Not in a clear voice, just a feeling, a presence, a sadness hanging in the air. There are things he never said, questions he never asked, and now they're all trapped in that house. Did Gene Hackman truly leave behind a final recording? That question haunts reporters, fans, and documentary filmmakers, all of whom try to reach Leslie, but no one has heard the recording except for her. Not a single second of sound, not a single copy has been revealed. Some believe the tape holds dark truths about love, control, and secret agreements between Gene and Betsy in their final days. Others think the recording isn't Gene's farewell to the world, but rather his farewell to himself, a message written and read by him, closing the chapter on his life. Leslie hasn't confirmed anything. She only says, "Some secrets are better left buried with the dead." The house still stands there, lonely on the hillside, with no one daring to buy it. Documentary film crews have requested to shoot there, but they encountered strange glitches when entering the backyard. Distorted images, missing audio, or recordings of inexplicable sounds like the scraping of a wooden chair, the sighs of someone in an empty room. The Santa Fe mansion isn't just a property, it is a living tomb where secrets are locked within every plank of wood, every brick, every window pane. Anyone who steps inside feels the invisible eyes watching, the questions hanging in the air. Questions that only Gene Hackman, Betsy Arakawa, and Leslie Hackman may ever know the answers to. As for the outside world, we can only hear the whispers of the house, the echoes of love, fear, and truths that were never revealed. And when the door of the Santa Fe mansion closes at sunset, it doesn't just close another day. It closes a mysterious chapter with no end. Hackman always kept his personal life private, especially when it came to his children during interviews. In 1989, he shared with film critic John C. Tibbets that audiences appreciated him because they saw him as an ordinary man. He explained that he preferred to keep his personal life simple so that viewers could easily connect with him through his art. He also admitted that he didn't cope well with the transition from a lackluster career to one of success. While he always took care of his family and made sure they had everything they needed, he acknowledged that he had become too enamored with the old Hollywood and its mystique. Even though he didn't indulge in what Hollywood had to offer, he still found himself fascinated by being a part of it and the ability to be anyone and do anything he wanted. Hackman made rare comments about his children in an interview with the Irish Independent in August 2000. He shared that his children had helped him decide to continue his acting career rather than pursue a job behind the camera. Although he had the opportunity to direct Silence of the Lambs, he ultimately turned it down, a decision he had no regrets about. Hackman said, "I didn't think twice about that decision," and mentioned that his children helped him realize it wasn't the best choice. He also admitted that being the child of a famous person was difficult, and that his success had always been a burden on his children. Despite the complex relationship with his father, Hackman's children always loved him and were shocked to hear of his tragic death. Gene Hackman and his wife, Betsy Arakawa, were found dead in their home in Santa Fe, New Mexico, on February 26, 2025, leaving the world stunned and full of questions. 9 days after the legendary actor and his wife, along with their dog, were found dead in their 9,000-square-foot home, the circumstances surrounding their deaths remain unclear, with many questions about what truly happened in their secluded home. The sudden and mysterious death of Gene Hackman sent shockwaves through the entertainment industry. As one of the greatest actors of his era, Hackman was renowned for his iconic roles in films such as Unforgiven and The French Connection. Colleagues and directors expressed deep sorrow, with Clint Eastwood describing him as a close friend he would deeply miss, while Francis Ford Coppola called Hackman a true legend of cinema. Betsy Arakawa, though not prominent in Hollywood, was highly respected, especially by those who knew her. She was the devoted partner of Gene Hackman for many decades, and their relationship stood as a rare example of enduring love in the entertainment industry. After their deaths, fans and conspiracy theorists flooded social media platforms, with many speculating that there were still untold details in the story. The lack of timely medical intervention and the unusual circumstances led many to propose theories. While authorities have stated there are no signs of foul play, they continue to investigate, with toxicology results and forensic analysis still pending. As the world mourns the loss of a cinematic legend and his beloved wife, the mystery surrounding their final days remains unsolved. Whether it is a tragic coincidence or something more complex, their story will be remembered as one of the most tragic and dramatic endings in Hollywood. Investigators are still struggling to determine the cause of death, but what the FBI is preparing to uncover is sure to surprise many. Officials initially focused on determining the cause of death for Hackman and Arakawa, but no clear conclusions have been reached. While there are no signs of trauma, carbon monoxide poisoning, or foul play, investigators seem to be broadening their search to uncover the truth. Currently, they have begun to suspect that the house might be hiding important secrets. As information about the FBI investigation spreads, many theories are starting to emerge. Some believe that Hackman, known for his reclusive lifestyle in his later years, may have been concealing a major secret within his home. Officials initially focused on determining the cause of death for Hackman and Arakawa, but no clear conclusions have been reached. While there are no signs of trauma, carbon monoxide poisoning, or foul play, investigators seem to be broadening their search to uncover the truth. Currently, they have begun to suspect that the house might be hiding important secrets. As information about the FBI investigation spreads, many theories are starting to emerge. Some believe that Hackman, known for his reclusive lifestyle in his later years, may have been concealing a major secret within his home. And that's all. The mystery surrounding Gene Hackman's final message continues to baffle those who knew him, and the truth about his final moments may be even more terrifying than we thought. With never-before-seen footage revealing strange clues and the investigation into his death still ongoing, it's clear that the life of this legend holds secrets yet to be uncovered. Share